Yay, how long can somebody talk about the sewer system? Would you look at that? So if you've been subbed to this channel for a while, you'll know that every 100 subscriber milestone, I like to make a bit of a subscriber special. Starting to run out of things to talk about, but I think I have one more card up my sleeve. Literally, as you've been able to tell from the title, I'm going to be talking about my card collection. And not in the traditional sense either. Going to be talking about playing cards, trading cards, and just card games in general. So, figure I'll start with the broad category with card games I have in general. So, I have the version, we didn't playtest this. Apparently, it comes with a banana. Unfortunately, the banana is sold separately. Gives you an idea about the level of humor that this card game has. It was one of those things I picked up at a thrift store for $1 and break it out every so often. And just gotta love the rules. Just simple black and white packaging. Which in ways reminds me of something that I, as well as a lot of edgy high schoolers, loved. Cards Against Humanity. It's kind of funny, really. The one being family friendly and mostly having white packaging, and the one being definitely not family friendly and being black and white. This was another fantastic thrift store find. I guess I already peeled off the sticker on it. I know there's been multiple versions, multiple expansion packs over the year. I think this is just the base version, but occasionally break it out with friends and still see there are some minor cards we've never noticed before. However, this is the fascinating thing, is that when we do play Cards Against Humanity, we merge it with another popular game of a similar type. Apples to Apples. It's just fun to be able to combine the two, to play the black cards, the green cards, the red cards. Now, the other reason I wanted to show this one off specifically is this is more one of the first editions, so you'll notice that the card art is just a little different from the version that you get otherwise. There we go. I wanted to get something that was more than just to create your own. For the create your own, we just always kind of went with the idea of you would just place it and then you would tell people what it is, but then it was pretty obvious which one was the one you played in the first place. And I'm a bit of a storyteller. I love to say where I got some of these things from, and I'm very much convinced that every item has a story. The crazy thing is, this was actually going to be a Christmas present for me, but I kind of tricked them and got another version myself at another thrift store. So I feel sorry for the person that got it for me and had to pay full price, but, well, now we just had two versions, so wherever we were, we could always play some apples to apples. And now, kind of going for a bit of a middle ground when it comes to adult or child-friendly, this was a very popular one for high school as well, Munchkin. And even though this is the deluxe edition, I picked it up for $6. It is wonderful. Gotta love the sense of humor. There is a very unique art design to it. Unfortunately, my favorite card in the game is not in this version, which is known as the Blessed Mallet of Saint Ew. Now, the crazy thing is, this is not the only version of Munchkin I have. For a long time, this was the only version I had, Super Munchkin. And from what a lot of people tell me, this one is a bit more top-heavy as opposed to the original one I just showed you. This is one I like to break out every so often, but it seems more often than not that I can get more people interested in playing the original. And as for this other version I have, I've yet to actually play it, so if you've ever actually played Munchkin's Pathfinder, let me know. Is it good? Is it worth checking out? Right. And then this was another popular one in, let's see, late elementary school, early junior high school. Monopoly Deal. Now, I remember playing this with my nephew not too long ago, and I realized that some of the cards have definitely look a little different compared to what they look like now. Not a whole lot, but just enough to keep it interesting. And then another popular one, Fluxx. Now a lot like Munchkin, I know there's been a lot of variations of this one over the years, but this is the one that I have, version 3.1. According to it, it was made in 2005, and in all honesty, I'm pretty surprised I still have it in the box. As you can see, it's definitely had some mileage on it. But this is definitely a fun one if you ever get the chance to play it. Now let's see, what else do we got here? Well, I do also have this card game. It's called Rook. I've never played it, but from what I could tell, it seems very similar to Pitch, which is pretty much a family tradition on my dad's side of the family whenever we get together. And they rather play the real thing rather than like the kid-friendly version of it. Just one of those things found at a thrift store and thought it was fascinating. Now, as for playing cards itself, well, I got a few little variants here and there. So we got this one with Yukon Jack, which I believe is a liquor brand. But the main thing I love is just the artwork on these cards. I don't know how to describe it, but there is something that just kind of speaks to a much older time that these came out in. Not really sure what, but I find a nice humble set of playing cards will get you very far. Picked up this one a while ago from the dollar store, and this is just always the thing I wondered about. So they say that the face cards of playing cards are based off of famous royalty. Now from what I can tell, the King of Hearts is supposed to be Charlemagne, which... why does it look like he's trying to dig his brains out with the dagger? Leave your comments down below. I'd be very curious to hear any sort of fan theories on that. Oh, I'm trying to think. Did I show the pattern on the back? It's been a while since I've actually opened this deck. See if I can even get it to come out of there. Yeah. It's kind of fun, as it's just the dollar store logo, just imprinted on the back all over the place. As for the artwork, it's pretty standard, not as special as the Yukon Jack one. Now I know that a heavy standard out there is Bicycle, but I love this particular artwork. Maybe I shouldn't zoom in too much on this because there's a lot of topless women, which for me personally I'm like, oh yeah. But it's not like I can be unmonetized, so I don't want to get into trouble. The main thing that's rather fascinating about this one is that this is not a regular deck of playing cards. This is playing cards for a game known as Pinochle, which I believe it only has 28 cards. Basically, ace through 9, I believe. They've been taken out of the deck, and you just have them twice. So there's 2 sets of kings, queens, jacks, 10s, and 9s. And the basic idea is that you play tricks to try to get the most amount of points. You only have so many turns, so you can only do that so many times. It was one of those things I tried once, and let me just say, not only is it difficult, but there's so many different variations, I'm not sure which is the best. For those of you that know Pinochle, which one is the best one to start out with for somebody that is not familiar with this? And then I got this one right here. This is about as cheap can get. In fact, if instead of opening the box normally, you can actually open it like this. At least the backs are kind of fun to look at. If only I could just get that together again. There we go. And then on to a bit of a crowd favorite, Uno. Now, as far as I can tell, this is the first edition deck I have in my hands. So, really the major difference is that this was originally manufactured for only English players, to keep in mind. So you'll know that instead of having symbols, the regular wild cards look a little different. They actually, yeah, that's the power card everybody's obsessed with. Instead of arrows, it just says reverse, and it is with a giant R. And you can definitely tell that this came out back in the 1970s. Let me see if I can show you what a regular wild card looks like. Okay, so that's a wild draw 4 again. Oh, yep, there we go. There's a regular wild card. And this is the thing that is very fascinating about this particular deck, is that I also have it with the instruction manual. What is really interesting about it is that there's a little thing on the bottom. So you can buy Uno-related merch. If any of this exists, I would love to wear this hat. But I'd wager this stuff probably goes for a lot of money on eBay these days. It's kind of a pity. I remember even kind of calling the phone number on this, and I'm just like, hey, you know, if I give you the coupon, do you still actually sell this? And the people are just like, yeah, we didn't know such a thing was a thing. But you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's the philosophy I like to go by. And now on to the trading cards that I have. So, I'm going to start with this miscellaneous bag that a good friend of mine gave me before he moved away. It has been a long time since I last opened this. In fact, I'm not even sure what all is on it, so I do know that there's like a 3D playing card. I don't even know if it actually shows up on the camera. In fact, that was kind of the nice thing, is he was also able to give me these two Yu-Gi-Oh cards, which are the only ones I have, and probably the most popular. Obviously playing the Dark Magician and the Blue Eyes White Dragon. I did have a little bit of a collection of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. In fact, there was one time I accidentally bought 2 binders full of really hilariously butchered translations, which... there was a part of me that wish I kept that, but at the same time, the person I traded those cards for, I got something that I wanted, and they absolutely loved it. Let's see. Wow. Looks like a lot of these are like the Japanese version. So you can see it says Pocket Monsters instead of Pokemon. Trying to think if there's really anything else that's quite fascinating. Looks like you got a Dragon Ball Z card. Yeah, it kind of looks like a lot of these got wet at one point, so you'll notice that the condition isn't necessarily the best. And that's a bit of a fascinating trading card. I don't even know who this character is. Just a lot of Pokemon, it looks like. Kind of surprised that many of these are the Japanese version. Let's see, what else is in here? Just kind of a grab bag, sports cards. Not really interested in such things. Not only are these dime a dozen, but I'm just not much of a sports fan. Huh. Well, that's fascinating. It appears to be a card set for the, at that point, the new upcoming Pokemon movie, which was Mewtwo Strikes Back. That might be fascinating. Yeah, there's a lot of these. Haven't really had much of a chance to go through these. Looks like we got like some X-Men cards and whatnot. Wonder how in the world they got away with copyright on that one. I find it interesting that it says Mewtwo Strikes Back, but isn't this the artwork from the first Pokemon movie? All the same. I do kind of have to laugh at this artwork, especially knowing the voice actor story. We got some Digimon cards, which I will be able to show more of later, actually. Another one for Mewtwo Strikes Back. It appears to be a Shellder. And there is also this one. Didn't even know there was a Star Wars trading card game. But anyway, on to the feature presentation. Suppose I'll just start off with what you saw in the thumbnail, actually. No idea if it's really all that valuable or whatnot, but found this set quite a few years ago. The Bodyguard theme deck. I forget what actually all is in here, in all honesty. As you can see, the box has been mashed around a few times. What do you think? Is there like an instruction manual or whatnot? So there's a card list. Yes. I think this one shows you what's in each one. You can actually read any of this. I know displays have definitely gotten a lot better, but I know my camera is not like 4K or anything, but there's a way you can actually pause it full screen and see what they all look like. That's the ways it works. And then this is the rulebook, version 3. I wonder what all has changed from version 1 and 2. And even more so than that, are there different variations? So for instance, is there like a 2.0, 3.0, 2.1, 3.1, or so on and so on? I'll definitely say I love the artwork, and I'm going to guess that this little survey is no longer valid anymore. I feel like I just kind of threw most of the cards in here that were the right ones. Kind of thinking there was a bit of a fun one, so the most powerful card in this deck was Muck, I believe. Which I didn't have a Muck with this deck, so I took a random energy card and I hand drew it with all the functions and whatnot. Looks like most of it's in there. Of course, I'd have to check the list to be sure. Now, according to the box, it said it's supposed to come with a coin. Well, by the time I got it, the coin had been long gone. However, I find whenever there is a game that requires a coin, I personally prefer a good old Kennedy $50. Why do I prefer this? Because this is just the sound money makes. Yeah, let me see if I can get a good one for the Foley artist out there. And I guess maybe one of the other things to mention while I'm putting this away, so that is for the coin. And then for later versions, there's damage counters, which I found out that whatever you call these colored glass beads, it seems like these are the ones that work the best. So you determine beforehand what each color means for damage counter, and then you go from there. So, just in case, found this one at a thrift store back before they were insanely popular, but I'll get to that later. This one I ended up buying off of Amazon, I believe, and it is, as you can see, the first edition. So this is a bit of a funny story, as like back in college there was a software that we had to use that turned out to have some sort of recall on it, so each student was given the ability to fill in their information and get like a $20 voucher. So I got this in Bionic Commando. So this is the instruction manual for the game, and quite personally, if I could get any of these toys for under $10 a piece, I would be all for it. Digimon Virch, in terms of like toys, stuffed animals or whatnot, very hard to come by, and most of the time you would actually have to get stuff that has not been licensed, or if you know a very valuable artist. If you're watching this who made this statue, I thank you very much for it, because look at this craftsmanship. It's Agumon, and apparently they even put like a full skeleton in it to make sure that it's able to hold the pose. It's kind of annoying that one of the claws fell off, but that does not distract from the artistry. So how the Digimon card game works is not really as robust as the Pokemon card game. It's really more about the idea of rock, paper, scissors, so to speak. So you got three types of Pokemon. You got Data, Virus, and Vaccine. And if you got both of the same type, it shows you what the attacks are. So let me see if I can just bring one out real quick. Okay. So, as you can see, this one is a red type, which I forget what they called it when they localized it into the English. I'm gonna guess Agumon is probably a data type. I don't think he's a virus type. So essentially you match up what color your opponent is, and that is how much is being dealt. And the basic idea is you get these little counters, actually. Little pieces of cardboard that you just kind of spin, and the first person to reach 1,000 damage is the one that's out, and the other person claims the victory. Of course, I'm not really too into it for the card game aspect. I have played it a few times, but in all honesty, I am just here more for the, shall we say, collecting aspect. Or at least, for the most part. I found as I gotten further along, I'm by no means a collector, because even though I got this for relatively cheap, I am not gonna pay, like, probably any more than like $10 to $15 per card, and I will show you why that is a bit of an issue later on. But sticking with this topic of Digimon, one of the other sets I picked up, the Digimon gift box. As you can see, several of the cards are missing already, and that is because I put them in binders, which I will show you. But the major reason that I wanted to pick this up is, look, it even comes with a Digivice. It's awesome! Before going into the binders, I do just have like a few loose ones. I figured I'll just kind of show real quick. Not really sure what most of these are. I only really know like the first generation onward, but sometimes the art is what catches my eye, or I've gotten them through trading sessions or whatnot. My main goal is to try to get the first edition of the 151 Pokemon. However, I have... what's the word I want to go for? I've accepted the idea that finding a first edition Charizard, I am not going to spend that much money for it. So instead, I'm just going to stick with... oh yeah, there's my Detective Pikachu... with a few little insert cards that came with it. And, yeah. It was a good friend of mine. Well, he still is. He was a huge fan of Pokemon. And he's just like, hey, you want to see Detective Pikachu? And I'm like, sure. So, I love it. You could go there, and they would give you 2 random ones for free. And I believe I have both of those in the binders, but there were also some advertisement cards that I kept outside. Don't know if it's valuable to keep the wrapper, but wanted to anyways. For this next part, I'm going to have to change perspective, so bear with me. Hopefully this is good. Get a little bit of like a hand model action going. Alright, so this is my primary binder, for which I have what I could find for my 151 Pokemon. Gotta change it up. There we go. I think that's a better perspective. Gotta figure out how to do this whole one-handed. Unzips. Okay. Now really the main thing to note is I tried to put these in the original order. And you'll note that the ultimate forms are probably the hardest to come by. I figure I'll just kind of go through. Like I said, I've resigned to the idea of ever being able to find a first edition Charizard, so I just kind of went for the next best bet. Somehow I have not been able to find a Blastoise. And I think from here you probably know what most of these are, so I think I'll just kind of pan and scan, basically, as if I'm an old VHS tape. And yeah, you're gonna love the little chubby Pikachu. Now, this is one of the few things I know about collecting, is that if you find one of these with red cheeks, that that is a limited run mistake, and it can be worth quite a fair bit of money. This one I actually was able to get the ultimate forms of, with the Nidoqueen and the Nidoking. I'm more a fan of the Queen, as you can probably tell. I could have sworn I got a first edition of the Clefairy, which, if you were to ask me what would be my starter Pokemon, I would pick the Clefairy. If nothing else, just for the idea of the metronome. It's a lot like the swings in Grand Theft Auto 4. While unpredictable, it can be an insanely powerful tool. And it appears that for some odd reason the camera has changed orientation, much like I have as I've gotten older. Just gonna go through here. This one is shiny, which I hear those are a bit more valuable. Yes. No Poliwrath? Interesting. Crazy thing is, I actually had quite a few of these at one point, but I ended up trading most of those away to try to get some of the extra cards that were missing out of the collection. So you could probably see where some of the additions came in. I'm not necessarily... I guess it's a bit more of the artwork that I'm trying to find for the first edition. Like, you may notice if you look really closely, there are a few here that have, like, similar art to the first edition, but are not first edition. Some of them are reproductions. Which for me, it's more about the artwork I'm trying to collect than the actual card itself. The main reason I say I'm not a collector is because I'm not really in this for the money. I'm here for the love of the game. Well, I say that, but I have not played any Pokemon battles since I graduated high school. I had back-to-back study halls, and that was a fun thing. The first study hall I had was actually doing my homework, and then after that, you'll see, that is the reproduction, as you can tell from that little way it says basic on the corner there. So the first part of the study hall was actually studying, and then after that, it was a Pokemon battle with a friend. You get some of the fossils. Dun dun dun. Oh wow, looks like I got the first edition of all the legendary birds. I love how he's just kind of rocking out. Strategy, Dragonite, and all that other good stuff. I feel like I'm just kind of doing some ASMR at this point. And that is the first edition Mewtwo, I'm pretty sure. Not the one that you got out of the movie theater, but still though. And these are the two Detective Pikachu cards that I got. So you got Detective Pikachu himself, and you got Charmander. That's me trying to do my best Gary impression. Oh, go Charmander! And some of the various trainers that I picked up along the way. I was about to say, where's Bill? There's Bill. Now on to the more unorganized versions. Just gonna open it up. That was just kind of crazy. I was wondering if I still had the German Charmeleon. Yeah. So that's how you can tell it says Flammenwerf. That's the German name for flamethrower. Oh, that was spun as Japanese. It's been a long time since I've actually taken stock of all these random cards I have. It was rather fascinating, but before everybody started coming on board and kind of robbing some kids of their childhood, I was able to just pick up binders like this at thrift stores for like maybe a few dollars or whatnot. Odds are there might be some things in here that are valuable. But like I say, I'm not in it for the money. I am here for the collecting aspect of it. Obviously, if I'm gonna go any crazier than just the first edition, it's probably gonna take a lifetime to find all of them. In fact, I'm having a hard enough time trying to find just the first edition ones. Although I will admit, I do like these more hand-drawn pieces of artwork. Look at that face. That's not a face that can lie to you. But I could definitely say that there's a lot of cards here where I do not recognize the Pokemon contained therein. I think this one might have been from Season 2, so after the Indigo League, I want to say it was Johto League. I've seen the first 3 movies, as well as Mewtwo Strikes Back. That's really about all I've been able to see. Still trying to figure out this one movie I saw years ago. This one actually shines if you can see it. Which I thought was the Digimon movie, but it turned out not to be. I remember even back in the day, it's like, oh, this one's got a cool gold robot in it. It's gotta be the same one, right? No, wrong. I still have yet to figure out what it is. I'm sure if I were to see it, it would strike an instant memory, but still have yet for that memory to strike. So if anybody knows about mech anime, I guess to be more specific, where one of the characters is head to toe in what looks like gold carved in Egyptian hieroglyphs and may or may not have something to do with space, please let me know. This is a movie I've been looking for over 20 years, actually. Not consistently. Yeah, it's like a little Clefairy. Trying to think about what other piece of the conversation I can have going, actually. Well, as you may be able to tell, most of this stuff is not really part of my collection. It's more just like if there's any sort of trading events, I just kind of take this binder with me and then go from there. I do know that the shiny ones are a bit more valuable than the ones that are, if you'll pardon the expression, matte, I think they call it. Or at least that's the phrase I'm used to hearing. And then I believe that is the last page of the binder. Go to the last one. And then there are 2 more binders to go. So official. This one I know I picked up from the thrift store. Added more or less to it along the way. Just mostly use it for trading. However, there are a few that I like to keep around. Okay, I didn't even know I had this one. I do love that artwork, though. This one I think is where I put most of the first edition ones, in all honesty. But there is also one other section I believe I also kept in here as well. So in addition to collecting the first editions, I believe also in this binder you'll see the other ones that I like to collect as well. See, there's the basic, there's another reproduction. But we shall see when we get there. And there's Articuno, it shines. It's so shiny, like a diamond in the rough, it's so shiny. I think everything else is just energy. Gotta have the energy to fight. That's what it's all about. You can almost just stuff like an actual deck in there for competing purposes. And then, as you could probably tell from the t-shirt I was wearing, I'm a bit more of a Digimon fan. Which you can find an official Digimon binder like I have with the Pokemon stuff. But this will work fine for me. Oh, yes. I remember I picked up most of these in this binder at a flea market, actually. The same one that I got the mistranslated Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And here is the pride of my collection. Signed by the English voice actor for Tai Kamiya, Joshua Seth. A lot of people may not know this, but in addition to being a voice actor, he is also a fantastic hypnotist. And that is where I saw him. I was very happy that he allowed us to ask for autographs and whatnot. Although there is a part of me that was a little annoyed that I didn't just have a Tai Kamiya card like I did for Sora and Mimi up here. And now you'll notice that there are some more modern Digimon cards in here. These are the ones that I picked up from the box set earlier. And a few of these I also picked up at thrift stores. It was really fun to just kind of be able to see some extra Digimon cards added to the collection, and yeah, Debbie Woman. Oh, Lady Debbymon, that's her name. This one I picked up with my action figure of Shoutbot, actually. It was a Goodwill that was selling it. I guess they overstocked the store and then was able to get it there secondhand. Gotta love Chimeramon. Based off of the Chimera of Legend. Woodwan, I remember he was an extra edition, as well as Red Vigimon. Ooh, I think Tokukumon's actually, yep, Tokukumon is metallic. Yeah. I'm not really sure how many other hardcore Digimon fans are out there, but, well, I hope that perhaps I am showing a bit of excitement, much like all the Pokemon fans with the last few binders. And I love the back here. There is something about that text. I kind of wonder if maybe these are more based off of Beat Break rather than Ghost Game. I'm in the middle of Beat Break right now, and I am absolutely loving it. Yeah, I gotta love Rosemon. I will admit, I'm a little annoyed as I thought that Ghost Game received a dub, but I can't seem to find it on my streaming service. Yeah, all these Season 2 ones. These ones I picked up at a thrift store as well. And I want to say that they have different backs, if I remember correctly. Let me just kind of take one out real quick. Yep, different back compared to the standard. And also at that time, you could see that they were using CG just like they were in the show itself. This is one of the few ones that's actually from Season 3. I think it's the only one from Season 3, actually. And I remember that the card back is different, so that's the standard one. It's a bit more green as opposed to the blue one from earlier. Once again, trying to figure out how to do this one-handed. Bear with me. Almost there. Here we got some of the crests, and we got the tags. Alright. And then up next comes my custom Digimon cards, which basically made it so I could actually use these to fight in Pokemon. Now, don't get too crazy, as I used all energy cards, so they all look the same from the back, so nothing of value has been lost. I only put a single piece of tape, so nothing will be permanently destroyed. Then after that, we have the energies for that fighting force. And then we start getting back into the Pokemon cards again. I'm trying to figure out which of these sleeves had the other bit that I like to collect. So I mentioned I like to collect the first edition. I love that artwork. That's another thing I also like to collect here and there, but it's not really something card set I'm finding the set for. It's just something I look for if I can find it. And these ones, I wonder how rare or valuable they are, considering they were actually from the World Championship. Ooh, that one shines. Alright, it looks like we're actually going to start getting into the ones that I also collect aside from the first edition. The Unknowns. And if anybody knows how many Unknowns there are, or how many more I have to go, let me know. It's just a fun little hobby of mine. The Unknowns were one of the few I remember from when I started becoming more of a Digimon fan. And, well, I just love the unique look that they bring to the table. So, I believe that is everything that I've got. Thank you for joining me on my 1,200 subscriber special. I hope you will be able to join me where we go to the next milestone, 1,300. Until next time, keep having fun.